Dear friends and aspirants of state and central civil services, I am Ishwarya, retired professor of political science, University of Hyderabad. Today we will discuss a topic which is central to our constitution and which is also a reflection of the philosophy and principles of our constitution. That is preamble of the constitution. As we know, preamble reflects the basic structure of the Indian constitution, basic philosophy behind the constitution. So, if we understand this preamble, we are likely to, in fact, get introduced, thoroughly to the philosophy and principles of our constitution. So let us have a look at the preamble and then study and analyze each and every aspect of the preamble of the constitution. See, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure to all its citizens justice, social, economic, and political, and liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all fraternity, assuring the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. In our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact, and give to ourselves this Constitution. Basically, I will discuss the important aspects of the preamble, of course with some, explaining you sometimes in Telugu, because actually the address is mostly to the Telugu aspirants of AP and Telangana. Now, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute, first of all, we the people, having solemnly resolved to constitute, what does it mean? The people are giving this constitution to themselves. Have resolved to constitute India. They are constituting themselves. That means neither the Britishers who ruled us nor any other, foreign agency has, in fact, resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular republic. That means the people themselves have given this constitution. People themselves have resolved to constitute India. Of course, giving ourselves will come in the last, but constitute. So, India is constituted into a sovereign, socialistic, secular, democratic republic. That means people themselves have resolved to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist, secular, democratic republic. Sovereign means, till 1949, say, November 26, 1949, we were really under the British. Except the native states, many native states. Because after the constitution only, the native states which were more than 500, joined the new republic after the constitution came into existence. Therefore, the British India was constituted by the people themselves into a sovereign, that is sarvasattaka. That means, no other country and no other agency from outside this thing, would control the economic, political, and other developmental aspects of the country. That meaning, it would remain the India would remain sovereign without being influenced or without being controlled by Britain, which was our boss before, and then or any other country, including some see even the heads and rulers of the native states also. That means we are not having any right. Okay, that is sovereign. Then socialist means a country was constituted into a socialist republic in the sense, socialist means different confusing meanings are there. But here the socialist means this somewhat, it would be a mixed economy in which, in fact, most of the companies, factories, which were having central importance in the industrial and agricultural development of the country would be under the state control. That is central and the state. That we should understand. They did not mean socialistic in the sense, the Soviet Union was the then socialist republic, or the then, China, Republic of China. But because, China and Russia, they were in fact, countries wherein the companies and, agricultural land was in fact, really owned collectively by the people, except that some people were given, individual, households and so on and so forth. So it is not at that time, in fact, China and Russia at the time of this preamble and writing of the constitution. In fact, China and Russia were in fact socialist republics. So, but there was our constitution makers, in fact, our representatives made a difference. The difference between the kind of socialistic country which they constituted and the socialistic republic in China and India. That is the difference. In China and Russia at that time, in fact, people in fact commonly owned without in fact control or ownership of the state. State control, in fact, there also, but it did not own except few 10% or 15%. But the whole lot of companies and factories and the land, agricultural land, was cooperativized, and then they, in fact, the people, in fact, own the land and factories. So that is the real socialistic that was which existed in then China and Russia. So ours is socialist pattern is really, in fact, so it is like socialism because it was sort of not a complete socialist but look at the socialist, and they meant the constitution writers, members of the constitution assembly meant that it would be the companies, factors and major ones would be in fact under the control of the state and central governments. And then of course there would be some private sector also, which would in fact would be having, in which people, the owners, private owners would control the factories, companies, and then do business also. So that is the meaning of the socialist in our constitution. And then secular means our country would not be, according to our constitution, would not be based on a particular religion, whether Hinduism or Islam or Buddhism or Christianity or Sikhism. It will be a secular country, which means the principles and philosophy of the constitution would not be derived a particular religion. Of course, indirect or direct, the influence would be there, but no religion would be the source of the constitution, principles and philosophy. That is the meaning. One meaning and then main this thing, mainly it was understood to be responding or protecting the feelings and aspirations and then emotions of all the religious groups equally. That means Sarva Mata Sabhavana, in fact, was our secular this thing. Unlike the Pakistan state the state of Pakistan are unlike the state of, states in the Middle East and the countries. So, this is the meaning of secular, this thing. And democratic republic means, what is the meaning of democratic republic? The democratic republic means a country which is whose head is in fact periodically elected, whose head of the state is not belonging to a particular family, who comes as a matter of belonging to a royal family, who comes by virtue of being son or daughter of a previous king, this thing. So democratic republic means the head of the state is elected periodically, and after some time, after the period mentioned that in our constitution, in our constitution, it is 5 years. So every 5 years, so the president, or for that matter, the political head, that is prime minister, and the chief minister of the state would be elected. So we, in fact, with the British, this thing, gone. So we are, in fact, really become the head of the republic, in which our head of the state, would be elected head for a period of 5 years. Say, as we really did it, in fact, it really was implemented after the 1951 Representative Act came into existence. And according to the 1951 Representative Act, and according to the Election Commission, we would execute and implement the principles and rules of the 1951 elections were conducted to the central, this thing, and then the states, offices. So that is the meaning of the republic. In fact, the republic, for example, we should distinguish a country which is not having republic, which may be democratic, and a country which is having democracy and republican form. Say, for example, the best example of a country which is not republic but at the same time democratic, that is United Kingdom. Because in a United Kingdom, the head of the state is still monarchical, monarchical in the sense, in that country, the queen or king would take the position of the ruler according to Varasatvam, according to hereditary rule and hereditary rights. But at the same time, UK is a democratic country. There will be elections, there will be party system, and so on and so forth. Whichever party gets the majority, and that will be having the opportunity of forming the government. As we know, in the last few months, we had, in fact, elections to the parliament, and after that, our own, a person who belonged to our country, this thing, became, prime minister. Okay, that's different. Okay. So, and to say, so republic, and to secure to all its citizens. That means here, who are securing something to the people? This thing, the people themselves are securing అంటే ఇవ్వడం. So here the people themselves are securing to all the citizens of the country justice, social, economic and political. Justice, economic and social and political. That means justice means nyayam, social justice. Particularly nowadays people are talking about social justice. Social justice, whether the constitution is giving, the society, state is doing justice to a particular backward communities. So that is social, scheduled castes or scheduled tribes. Social justice, we have to do. Ambedkar is the best, pioneer, about speaking about social justice, for example. So this is the meaning of social justice, and which also meant that social in terms of social, economic, that is financial and then material, and then political, that means justice means everybody should have equal right to vote, right to contest for elections, and right to contest for about bodies, legislative bodies, parliament and legislatures, but also to contest for any position important and political executive positions like chief minister, like prime minister, and so on and so forth. So justice, social, economic, and political, and the liberty of thought, that means swecha, that means freedom. Freedom to think, express, believe, and have faith and worship. So, liberty of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. Of course, as we know, there was some prayer. Okay. So, this is also a very important principle of our Constitution, the philosophy of our Constitution, which speaks, upholds the liberty of the individual citizens of thought, expression, belief, faith, and worship. As we know, each individual citizen, in fact, is having freedom to think. That means the state would not have any control on the thinking, developing ideas, new ideas, secular ideas, progressive ideas. It's free, the citizen is free to think like that. And then thought, and also express them, just not to keep to oneself, but also express. And then believe and have faith in a particular, any religion. And then worship the God or goddesses or the great people in that religion. So that is freedom of liberty to worship. So then the people secure to themselves equality also, equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all. See, this equality of status and opportunity means actually equality before law. That means before law, before the judge, before the court, all are equal. The rich and poor would be equal before the law, before the judge, before this thing. I think that this is very important, and this was practiced. This is the main principle in the politics and administration in UK. Whereas in France, in fact, there is administrative law. Only in administrative. To equality of status and opportunity, and to promote among them all. See, what do you mean by actually equality? Equality of number one is equality of status. Status in the hoda. And in social matters, actual status is very important. So, our Constitution, our Preamble says that they all are having the same status, except that in official and bureaucratic circles, where some superintendent is having a higher rank, and then clerk is having lower rank. So, except in the administrative matters, in all other matters, all are having equal status. Say, for example, particularly when different people are coming before the court or the judge, I think the judge has to treat the rich person and the poor person equally. That is the meaning of equality of status. Or not only that, in other matters, for example, in the trains, buses, whoever pays for the berth, he is getting a higher comfortable facility, and whoever, except the payment question, all are equal. There is no question of high status, lower status. And the next thing in the social status is equality of opportunity. That is very important, irrespective of gender, caste, religion, and other race. These things, all should get equal opportunities. Particularly in the case of employment, particularly in the case of recruitment for this thing. Say, for example, generally there is a likelihood of women being say, for example, discriminated. But that is wrong according to the preamble. That is wrong. That should not happen. That is illegal. And at the same time, on the caste basis also, indirectly, people of lower caste may be discriminated in the recruitment, particularly in the private sector. So that also is wrong, and particularly in the government sector, government employment actually, it will be treated as one can go to court against such discrimination. So equality of status and opportunity, and promote among them all. I mean, the constitution, people themselves try to promote, will promote fraternity. Fraternity, that means in Telugu it is sauprathishtam, brotherhood and sisterhood. Ante not only our preamble, has some principles, but also given circumstances for fulfilling the principles that are mentioned in the preamble. That is one of the important circumstances, is to promote harmony, brotherhood and sisterhood among the people. So, but that harmony and sisterhood without harming the the dignity of the individual, and also unity and integrity of the nation. This is also very important. So, without affecting the dignity and integrity of the nation, so the preamble speaks, says that there must be promotion of brotherhood and then so on. So, and at the end, what the preamble says, it is very important. It is re-emphasizing that in our Constituent Assembly, that means, after more than 2.5 years of debates and discussions, our Constitution was finalized. In the Constituent Assembly. In the Constituent Assembly, our members elected representatives of the British India and the native states. The Constituent Assembly, finalized the Constitution. And then after the finalization of the Constitution, on 26th November 1949, the Constitution, in the Constituent Assembly, the people themselves, adopted and enacted the Constitution and gave themselves, and then our Constitution started working from 26th November to 26th November 19. So actually, why they had chosen 26th November 1949? It has got its own history. So way back in 1929, in Nehru's presence, it was resolved that India should get Purna Swaraj. 26th November 1929, it was a resolution was passed. That is why, to commemorate that, to remember that, the members of the Constituent Assembly, decided to, in fact, adopt, enact, and give to themselves, on this day, that is 26th November 1949. But officially, the Constitution came into effect from 26th January 1950 onwards. So that is our preamble. Thank you. And the Constitution. Thank you very much.